Hello, everyone, once again. My name is Domas. Will present Simplanova in this meeting. And today we are going to have another new topic, which will be presented by Microsoft MPP, Stefano Demiliani, on what's new in the Dynamics 365 Business Central Wave 2 version. I would like to mention straight away for all of you that within upcoming few days, all of the attendees will receive the recordings as well, because this is one of the most frequently asked question. So video recording will be available in a few days. If you will have any questions during the session, there is a Q&A section where you can leave the questions, and within the end of the session, Stefano will try to answer all the questions. Of course, it depends on the amount of questions that we are going to receive from your side. And yeah, we'll see how everything is we'll go from that part. And before we'll start today's session, let me introduce you a little bit of Simplanova, who we are and what we do. Because I see that there are a lot of attendees, and might be the case that some of you haven't heard about us or haven't worked with us before. So, sorry, Simplanova is an official Microsoft development center. We started our operations back in 2013 with one of the main goals at the time. You know, back in 2013, Microsoft had launched Dynamics NAV RTC version on 2013, and at that moment there was a challenge, to do those upgrades from the classic versions to RTCs. So Simplanova came up with an idea that we need to build a center which would allow partners to solve this issue. So first of all, we started specializing in upgrades, and we started doing that in two phases. One of them, we created a team of experts that are specializing in the field of upgrades. And at the same time, we were building tools that would allow us to automate the process. So we expanded our team. We helped many partners to save a lot of time while doing those upgrades. And if partners wanted to do those upgrades by themselves, we have created tools that would help them to do that internally. Such tools as Classic Converter, which helps to handle reports, data ports, and so on. And as you may know, not a long time ago, Microsoft has launched Business Central, and at that time, we decided that we need to create another tool, which would help to handle you the results that you get after the conversion with TXT to IL tool, and this tool is called Salt. I will introduce you Salt a little bit later. At the same time, we noticed that there's a huge demand also for helping partners to work on other type of projects, such as new implementations or post-development work after the upgrades. So we create a team of developers, experienced developers that can help you with either new implementations or other development tasks, which can be like as your team members or can work on project-based tasks. At the same time, also we can help partners to migrate their add-ons to the latest Business Central versions, especially right now when Microsoft has launched Universal Code Initiative. It is really important to apply all these rules in order to avoid additional charges for the end users. So we are helping to migrate all the add-ons to the latest BC versions while applying Universal Code Initiative. And at the same time, of course, we can help you with the consultancy services as well. So that would be shortly about Simplanova. And let's move to the recently launched tool that we are using already internally, and some of the partners are already using this tool while working on the migration projects, which is called Simplanova's AL tool, or shorter SALT. So the main idea of the tool is to avoid manual work while fixing issues after the step when you are migrating and converting CL code to AL while using Microsoft TXT to AL tool. Usually after this conversion, you would face quite a lot of errors and warnings, which you need to fix manually. That was a big struggle for us as well because it's really time-consuming thing. So we decided to create a tool which would allow us to eliminate this work and simply save time for projects and save time for the partners as well. Of course, tool will not solve all of the issues, but it will for sure will save quite a lot of time for you. So what are the main benefits of the tool itself, what it helps you to handle? So the part which saves most of the time, according to our experience, would be code migration to events. So we can move all the customizations from the standard objects that you have created automatically to events. This is one of the biggest time saver on the project. Also, it automatically converts options to enums. It helps you to handle issues related to file management because, you know, if you are migrating to the latest BC versions, you are no longer able to use on Windows client, and within the web client, file management works in the completely different way. So our tool helps to handle that part as well. Also, it deals with breaking changes, triggers, and temp block usage. We have estimated that on average, if we are having like a really heavily customized solution, Salt could save up to 30% time spent on the object upgrade. So you can already do the evaluations. For example, if you have estimated that you have a project estimated by 1,000 hours, might be the case that Salt could save you up to 300 hours. But of course, everything depends on the status and on the solution itself. So in this case, what you could do, there is a possibility to have a trial period for Salt and test this tool. If you would be satisfied with the results, for sure you can buy the license and use the tool for your upcoming or ongoing projects. For all the inquiries, you can visit Simplanova's website, simplanova.com, and leave the inquiry there, or you can contact straight sales@simplanova.com and leave us an inquiry, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. At the same time, if you will find out that Salt will not be able to solve all the issues for you, with a package comes Simplanova's upgrade chatbot. What we have gathered in this chatbot? Well, basically the whole experience that we've been working with upgrades. And as we've been working for more than 10 years, so we've compiled all the information, all the places how we are solving issues in one place. So if you would use this chatbot, you can just simply write down what's the issue, and automatically chatbot will give you the suggestions. If you will face a unique issue, might be the case that you can just simply register this issue in the chatbot, and our team will do the internal investigation. And if we'll find the solution, we will share the results with you. So that would be it currently with Salt. I will not take much time from all the attendees because I know the main the main reason why you've joined there. So at this moment, I would like to give a word to our main presenter, Stefano Demiliani. So the floor is yours. You can share your
Thanks, Thomas.
slides and start your topic.
Thanks, Thomas, and welcome everybody to the webcast. The goal of this webcast, as usually, is explaining the news about the new upcoming release, new release of Business Central Dynamics version 23. Sorry, 1 minute. Okay, can you see the screen? Yes. Before starting, here my contest. In any case, I not be able to answer the question at the end. So if we have quite out of time or something like that, feel free to bribe me. But I hope to be able to answer the question directly at the end of the session. As usually, we plan to do this what's new release webcast in the same format. So my goal is not talking only about some features, but I want to explain every new feature that there is in Business Central. And as usually, I divided the features into different areas. We explain all the features, obviously, in the time that we have. The goal is at the end of the webcast, you have a complete overview of what's new in this new release, and you can then go in depth when you need to use that features. So we start with the service and administration part, and we move then until the developer part that we leave at the end. What's new for service and administration? I think that every one of you now knows that the main server-side improvements that there's in Business Central 23 is the new table extension structures. In Business Central until version 22, you know that when you extend the table, Business Central under the hood in the Azure SQL layer creates a new companion table on every table extension extending the base table. This was the first decision by Microsoft, and this has, from a long time, a big problem related to performances, because every query you do in the database, every find set or something like that, creates a join from the base table and all the companion tables that you have created. Microsoft was aware of that. We signaled a lot in the past this performance problem. Microsoft introduces construction in the IL language to avoid these performance hits, something like, for example, the partial record loading. But the problem is still there until Business Central 22. In Business Central 23, Microsoft changes the underlying structure of table extensions. So we move from and different companion table created for every table extension created in IL to a single companion table. So now in this release, every time you create a new table extension of a base table, there are no more different table extensions, but every field that the new table extension is added into a single companion table that is joined together with the base table. This means that now the joins is only one and not different joins between different tables. And this improves a lot the performances, first, that you will note, and the performance gain is a lot. And this also helps on reducing the size of the database, because indexes are maintaining only into this companion table and not into the different tables. This change is quite a big change, but it does not impact the model that you see in IL language. So for IL language developers, things never change. IL language developers will continue to create table extension in the previous way without worrying about what happens under the hood. The advantage that you have now, the first obviously is the performance, and the performance is absolutely a big improvement. But the other advantage that you have now is that you can now organize code with different extensions without worrying about the performance hits. So one of the problems that partners raised in the past is it better for me to create one extension or separate these big functionalities that I want to create into different extensions. Now this problem disappears, because you can also create different table extensions without worrying about that. What happens under the hood? So what under the hood, if I extend, for example, 6 times or 7 times, like in this slide, the customer table in Business Central until 22, it creates, the system under the hood creates 7 different table with the name of the customer table plus the key of the customer table and the extended fields. Each of these for every table extension extended the customer. Now in Business Central 23, you have only one single companion table called like the main table plus the ext prefix. And so only one that all, and this in this table, all new added fields are inserted into this table with the fields names contains the app ID that has that fields. So only one single join. This is a great improvement in terms of performances. Probably maybe someone of you, I've written that in the past I've done a performance comparison between the two releases, and the performance comparison is quite a big improvement. Writing improvements is absolutely increased in this release. So if you check writing performances, if you write a lot of records in a table in bulk, the time that you require from Business Central 23 is absolutely reduced compared to Business Central 22. The same is for data deletions, and the same is for data calculations. So if you loop through a lot of records and you do calculations of fields that are in the main table and that are in the main table plus companion tables, the gains is a lot because joins are not performed, and this improves absolutely the performance of your database. So for me, honestly, Business Central 23 is a must-to-have release if you want to improve performances of your customer. So plan the upgrade because it's something that you will see immediately some performance hits. Another improvement that Business Central 23 adds is related to data of extensions. You know that in the past, when administrators uninstall an extension, but during the uninstalling phase, they don't delete the data remains in the database. So if this extension contains a lot of data, this lot of data is still in the database, and it continues to use the spaces. If you want to delete this data, you have only 2 possibilities: or you reinstall the extension again, if possible, and then you reinstall that new version with the delete data true, or you raise a support ticket to Microsoft that can, under the hood, delete the data for you. With Business Central 23 now, if you go into the extension installed extension page, you have a new features called new action called delete orphan extension data. And these features permits you to check all the extensions that are uninstalled and that contains data in Business Central. And you can select one of these, the extension where you want to delete the data, and select the delete orphan extension data. And this permits you to free the space of your database if you have extensions that you are not in use. And always related to performances. So why I always said, if you remember also my post in the past, why I always said that Business Central 23 is today the most performant release, Business Central release ever done. First, for the underlying changes, and then also for the new operational limits. New operational Business Central 23 changes the operational limits, and this is a big improvement in terms of performances. One of the main operational limits is, for example, the concurrently running task. One of the main limits in SaaS today. You can have in the business until Business Central 22 only maximum 3 concurrently running tasks per environment. So shared between our environments. This affects, for example, job queues. Now this limit is moved to 5 concurrently running tasks per user. And this means that if you have a lot of users, your concurrently running tasks can be a lot instead of only 3. The same other operational limits that are absolutely increasing for performance gains are the speed limit for web service requests. Web service requests now are 6,000 per user in the previous in a 5-minute sliding window, not only 600 per environment per minutes. And the same is related to web service requests, concurrency limit for web service requests. That now is not a per environment limits, but now is a per user limit. So this means that, generally speaking, the limits are changed from a per environment weight to a per user weight. This means that if you have a business central environment with a lot of users, expecting that this lot of users are working more than some environment that is using few users, your operational limits now are increased. So not more single operational limit per environments, but a more enlarged operational limit proportional to the number of users that you have in your web service tenant, in your business central tenant. This improves absolutely the performances of external calls, job queues, or something like that, together with also the table extension new structure. Then for application, so for the server side, the main gains are related to operational limits and table extension structure. Applications contains quite a lot of new features. The first is the search, data search. Data search, if you remember the webcast in version central 22, I talked about this feature, saying that this feature was introduced as a preview. Now this feature is improved, and it reaches the availability. So in the company data search is a feature that permits you to search for keys, like in Google or something like that. You search for a key, and this search is performed in your business central data in the table you want. Now the search is integrated into the tell me search, so into the system search. So if you go into the top right corner, you start the tell me features, and you write for a keyword, a word that you want. It proposes you to search in the company data, not only the objects that you have in Business Central, but also in company data. And if you select search in company data, the prompt performs the search, and the search gives you the results for tables where you have these centers that you have searched. So you can select the table that you want to expose to search, and the search is performed in this table. So directly from the tell me, exactly where you search for pages or something like that. And this is quite a user-friendly features that permits also to user to quickly find, for example, documents or something like that. If you search for Contoso, for example, you can find that in Business Central you have now a new demo tool, the Contoso demo tool. Contoso demo tool was still present in Business Central 22, and it's a tool used for creating demo data and demo companies. The new Contoso demo tool present in Business Central 23 permits you to is improved. The first, if you search for Contoso and click on Contoso demo tool, you can see that a window opens and it prompts you to, okay, what demo tool do you want? And here you can have different demo tools. You can have a common module, you can have a manufacturing module, a warehouse module, and now a new service module. If you select one of these, you can also select two options. Generate means that it creates a complete new company with settings, master data, and transactions for demoing these scenarios. So service, manufacturing, warehouse, and the common. So common means for the standard, Fine Kronos. And or you can also generate only setup data. And this means that it creates settings for your new demo company without creating demo transaction data. And this is a quite useful tool if you want to, for example, testing things or create a quick company for demos or something like that, because you can create a new company directly with this tool and you have the complete transaction for each of these scenarios. So standard scenarios, manufacturing, warehouse, and service. Another new features that I recently talked about also in my website was the possibility to add existing table fields to pages. Business Central 23 adds the possibility to doing page personalizations, and during the page personalization, adding every field that you want from the underlying table in the page. So you can now go into the personalization of page for a particular roles, for example, or profile, and you can go into the advanced mode and select all fields from the underlying table. You have a different possibility of choices: fields from base objects, fields from objects extensions, or all fields from the underlying table. And you can drag and drop all the fields that you have in the table, in the page, without doing extensions. So only by page personalizations, and assign that to a profile or something like that. This can be controlled by permissions. So not all users can do that, but only the users that has this new system assigned permissions to their roles. And developers can, we'll talk about that later, but developers can protect these fields that can be exposed with the new properties called allowing customizations, where options can be always or never. Always will be is the standard, will be that field will be available in page customization. Never means that this field will be never exposed in page customizations. Some things related to this that are probably not well known is that when you if the field that you define in the table is added to a page, but invisible on that page, via page personalization, you can drag and drop the field to the page and make it visible or not, editable or not. If the field is not by the developer, is only defined in the table, but is not exposed on a page field, now with these features, you can drag and drop the field into the page, but the field in the page is read-only. You cannot make the field editable. This is for this wave release. There are plans to make also the possibility to make the fields editable, but are actually not present in this release. What I placed at the bottom of this slide some links that talks more in depth about this feature. I suggest from Business Central 23 and for the futures to remember that this feature exists, and remember in your extensions to set allowing customization never when you want that a field should never be handled in the user interface, because this is prone for the future, and this is permits you to be safe and don't expose to users fields that maybe for you are internal fields and must not be edited by someone else. So remember that this feature exists, and remember to, if your extension supports Business Central 23 and above, always set allowing customization never on internal fields. Another new features is related to the edit in Excel. Edit in Excel is a feature that is present until today in some Business Central pages, and then permits you to directly edit the fields on the page in Excel Online and save the records directly in Business Central. This release adds this edit in Excel feature in a lot of new pages, mainly worksheets and warehouse-related pages. So lots of new pages now support the edit in Excel, where you can directly modify your records in bulk in Excel and close Excel, and then these records are changed in Business Central. So edit in Excel is extended on a lot of new pages in Business Central, and this helps a lot the productivity. Another new feature is related to the posting date management. In previous version of Business Central, when you change in the posting date of documents, this change always update the document date. Now, in this Central 23, these settings can be controlled. So you can you have a new flag in the sales receivable setup, for example, and also for purchase and payable setup. And this field is called link document date to posting date. If you have these fields enabled, when you modify the posting date, the document date change accordingly. If this field is not enabled, the change in the posting date does not alter the document date. And this field is off by default on new environments. So every new environment is off by default now. Off by default means that posting date does not affect document date. If you upgrade the customer, so if your tenant is a new, this is default, is off. But if your tenant is upgraded, this flag is turned on for backward compatibility. So for upgraded customer, this flag is on because the behavior is the same as in the past. If you want to change that, simply go into the setup and after the upgrade, turn the flag on. But remember that for new environments, this flag is off. So new environments, changing the posting date does not affect document date in documents. Another change is related to the customer statement feature. The customer statement feature now has a new field, option field called statement style. And the statement style permits you to select different options. Balance, for example, permits you to have an overview of the outstanding amounts for the customer. And the open item permits to show a set of other items. So, for example, you can only show open entries in a selected range, or show a balance for open entries, and you can also ignore entries that that has a posting date that is after the end date, so your date filter. So it permits you to set the balance or set the open item. And this is an improvement compared to the previous version, because the previous version simply lists all the statement as a list, but without doing permitting you to filter or something like that. Another quite easy improvements, but I think it's nice to have, is the possibility from Business Central 23 to navigate fields like quantity shipment and quantity invoiced on every document. So in sales lines now, quantity shipment and quantity invoiced are supposed drill down. So you click and you see the details. The same is for purchase order lines, where quantity received and quantity invoiced supports drill down. The same is on return lines, so sales return lines and purchase return lines, where the return quantity received and quantity invoiced and the quantity received and quantity invoiced supports drill down. And this helps you to navigate documents and discovery, for example, what I have received or something like that. In previous version, these fields are only numbers, so you cannot navigate directly from that fields. So this is a nice improvement that a lot of customer wants. Another improvement is related to general journal approvals. General journal approvals is now general journals now supports approvals. To support approval, you need to sorry, you need to go into the workflow page and set up approval users. So you go into the workflow page, and in the general journal batch, you set up that you want to set up, activate the workflow or approval of general journals. When this is active, in general journals, you can, when you create a general journal, you can send an approval, and the journal is sent to a pending approval state. When the approver receive the approvals. You can review. So you can set up an approval also for the lines. And when the approvals receives, the approval receives the approval, you can directly check, and you can also send the approval for the entire, for a single line or for the entire batch. And status is sent to pending approval for the entire batch or for the single lines. So you can handle that. And another interesting features is also the approvals can also be set up for intercompany batches. So also intercompany journals can support approvals. So when you have intercompany journals, you can set up approvals also for that. And when you have an error on these journals, so in this case, for example, I have an error because I tried to modify a record that is in the state of pending approval. When you have an error, now you can have actions on the error. So you can, for example, see the comments, reject the approval, or I can also revert and clear the errors and copy. We will talk about that later. Copy the stack trace of the error directly from the error message. And remember that it is a Sentence 23. The color of the error message here changes. Previously was in a green, now is in a light red. So the bar when you have an error changes. And this helps on handling approvals of journals, standard journal or intercompany journals better. The same applies in when you copy details. When you copy details, the stack trace of the error is copied, and you can share it with your developers or colleagues or something like that. When you have a journal, you can select a particular journal lines directly with the features, and you can send, as said before, the particular journal lines or selected journal lines to approve. So you can approve the entire journal or the single journal lines, request the approvals or something like that. So someone can handle that. Another interesting change is for who handles intercompany transactions is the possibility to handle intercompany transaction across environments. This was a limit in the previous version because when you need to handle intercompany transaction across environments in previous version, you need to pass by files. So you export intercompany transaction for one company and you reconcile on another company. Now you can do that automatically via new features that starts from an intercompany setup. In the intercompany setup, you can create what are your partners. The partner means that what are the company where you want to exchange transactions. And while clicking on add, you can insert the details of the other tenant where you want to copy on another tenant where you want to exchange transactions. And you can click on connect externally setup, and these setups ask you to insert details that these details are, I think, familiar if you are a developer and you are using Business Center APIs, because these setups permit you to insert the tenant ID that you want to connect, the company ID, and it creates a connection between the company in the main tenant and the company in the other tenant. And you can insert the details and the authentication details. Authentication details means client ID, client secrets of the other tenant to access the other tenant. That can be also in a completely other tenant, not a single environment, a different environment on your tenant, but can also be another totally other different tenant. And you can insert here the credentials, and this permits you to handle intercompany transaction across environments and across tenants. And this is quite a big improvement if you are using intercompany and you need to handle companies in different environments. Another similar functionality is related to consolidation of financial informations, because there are some organizations that consolidate financial data across different subsidiaries. And these subsidiaries can be on the same tenant, but also on different environments. And to do that without using files, in Business Central, you can set up business unit. And in the assisted setup, you can set up the process consolidation setup. So if you go into the assisted setup and you click on process consolidation, this setup starts, permits you to first specify to use a company. What is the consolidated company? And here you can select use an existing company. You select your company. And then you can specify what are the company sources of your consolidation. You select the company, and in the business unit setup, in each business unit, you need to specify which are the general ledger accounts that needs to be included in the consolidation. And you need also to specify the consolidation translation method for each account. So in this business unit, I specify what is the currency code, the starting and the end date for my movements, and what are the accounts that I want to consolidate. Then in the consolidation company, you can set up a business unit card for each company that must be included in the consolidation. And this, so you can specify a business unit card. You can select that this business unit card must be consolidated into the current company. You specify the data import, and data import can be file or can be now APIs. APIs useful if you are cross-tenant or cross-environment. You specify the API endpoint, exactly like before, and by going into the setup, you can specify the credentials, details, and enable company app subsidiary true. Means that this company will be a subsidiary of the main company, and permits you to import transactions and consolidate into the main company. This works between environments, but also between tenants, as said before. Another interesting feature, at least for me, because it's a feature that a lot of customers ask, is general ledger allocations. Lots of customers sometimes ask to possibility to handle cost accounting and so allocate amounts between general ledgers. Now you can do that, and you can define allocation based on fixed amount, variable amounts, or other statistical accounts. More in details how this works. Sorry for the wrong animation here. You can go into the general journals or sales journals or purchase journals, it depends. And when you write a journal line, now you can also select a new type, new account type, that is allocation account. Allocation account means that you can specify an allocation. An allocation can be fixed or variable. So when you select that, you go into the allocation account card, and when you can specify a type of allocation. So allocation can be fixed or variable. If you select fixed, a sub page called fixed account distribution appears, and here you can specify that this general account in a particular percent will be allocated to others, or you can specify variable. Variable means that the way will be distributed accordingly to other accounts. So If I select fixed, for example, I can specify that this type of accounts are shared with this type of the amount that I submit will be shared with this percentage to these accounts. So I insert a line of 1,000, and this 1,000 is automatically split into this for this percentage. If I select, and I can also preview the distribution. So by clicking preview distribution, I can see what type of allocation is performed. The other is variable. If you select variable, you can specify the code or the accounts used to calculate the percentage of your distribution. So when I insert an amount in my journal and I select this amount must be allocated with this template, the amount that I insert will be allocated into this set of accounts here, according to the amount that these accounts have in this model. So this amount is the percentage. And you can also specify the calculation period of this repartition. So the calculation period can be one of these period filters. So balance day, fiscal year, week, and so on, and permits you to allocate amounts between ledgers. And the general ledger allocation, you can also set the breakdown account filter. So you can filter your accounts for dimension, for business unit, in order to include only the accounts that you want. And when you post, so in the general journal, I selected a line. I said that this account type is allocation, and I selected an allocation model. When I post, if I check the preview, I can see that this amount that I've inserted is split into these three accounts according to the model that I've selected here. And I can also redistribute the account allocations before posting. So my template say that, and I can change for that particular line by clicking on redistribute account allocations. I can redistribute having a custom redistribution of the accounts allocation. This is a feature that, in my opinion, is quite useful because a lot of customers ask for that, and now it's quite complete. Another new feature in the application part is related to item variants. Item variants in Business Central 22 was extended in a lot of areas. Now you can block item variants. You can block item variants from being chosen in sales and purchase lines and posted in transactions. This means that when I have an item variant, I can have it blocked for all, or I can have it blocked for sales or blocked for purchase. And the different behavior is that if you have sales blocked, you can choose the item variant on every sales document. Purchase blocked is the same, but for purchases. And blocked at all means that you can't include the item variant in any transaction. The blocked, I write it here, and that is that the blocked items can be returned. So don't apply to return orders or credit memos. If you have blocked an item variant, you cannot use that in the next transaction. But if you have previously sent an item variant outside and you have a return order of this item variant, also if you have blocked the item variant, this return order can be accepted. So you can register the return order. So that this doesn't apply to return orders or credit memos. Blocked applies also to copy documents. So copy documents, the standard action of copy documents is modified to handle that. And it's modified in a particular way. So blocked documents are excluded from the new document. So when you copy a document that contains a lot of lines, and some of that contains variants that are blocked, all the non-blocked items are copied into the new document. And the copy document shows an error message, a warning, sorry, that says that your copy documents have discarded some items because this was blocked. And you can see the details. If you click on details, you can see the details of the items that are blocked, and you can fix or accept the action. Another improvement in this new release is related to the inventory count adjustment. The functionality of physical inventory order and the inventory receipt and shipments are now changed a bit. When you calculate the physical inventory of an item, so you go into the physical inventory order and you click calculate lines. Now these options permits you to have a new flag here to include items without transactions, yes or no. And this new flag, together with the items not in inventory, permits you to see some lines or not. So generally speaking, if you have include items not in inventory and include items without transaction set to off, it means that it works like now. So you have only the items that exist in the chosen location listed in inventory. If you have item not in inventory true and I include item without transaction off, you have a list of each item that is not in inventory also, but as transaction in the chosen location. If you have on and on, so not in inventory on and without transaction on, means that it lists also items that are not in inventory and doesn't have transaction in the chosen location. So this means that with this new flag, you can control to have an inventory also the items that are never used on that particular location. And when you create a physical inventory, you can have features called make new recording, and this make new recording now supports also the item reference number that was not previously supported. In this physical recorded, you can also enable in the inventory setup. You can also have new flag. This new flag called allow inventory adjustment that if it's turned to true, permits you to directly from the item page adjust the inventory, new feature, where you can simply go here quickly, insert the quantity to adjust, and clicking OK, and this fix the inventory without doing manual item reclassification or item journal lines or something like that. Another nice improvement is related to setup of your warehouse employees. I think that probably a lot of you, I'm one of that, sometimes occurs in this error. When you try to use the warehouse, you, for example, are in a sales order, you post a sales order where the location is a warehouse location, and it says that in order to post that, you must first set up the user as a warehouse employee. Previously, it was an error, simply error. Then you need to close, go into warehouse employee, create a new line with your user, select the warehouses where your user is enabled, and then going again to the sales order and post the sales order. Now it's more easy because when you have this error, the error now asks if you want to do that now. And if you click on yes, it opens this page, warehouse employee page, and you can click on add me as warehouse employee. And this permits you to select quickly all the location that you want to enable for this user, for me. And clicking OK creates the warehouse setup, warehouse employee setup. So it's very now to create that, especially if you have losses or something like that. So related to that is the warehouse operation handling. You know that if you go on the location card, you can handle how warehouse is defined. So you have a flag called require shipment, require pick, require receipt, require put away that are used to handle warehouse operation for sales, purchase, and so on. Now the usage of this field changes because these fields now are used only for internal operations. This means production jobs, assembly, and now when you have in the location card, now you have new fields called, for example, in the for the production consumption warehouse handling. For the output, production output warehouse handling. And you have other new fields for assembly, consumption, warehouse handling, job consumption warehouse handling. And this permits you to handle the internal warehouse operations. So if I have to handle a warehouse, a registration or an output of a production order, and I want to handle warehouse for that, I can specify if this needs to know warehouse or it needs to require CPIC or something like that for every internal operation. And if you, in the warehouse location card, if you set the direct put away and pick to true, this automatically set these fields automatically in this way without changing that manually. So internal operations are now handled by these new fields. Previously, you have only these fields that handle the outside operations, so purchase and sales and so on. Now you can also handle that for the internals. Another new feature is related over receipts. In addition to purchase order and warehouse receipts, now you can also use inventory put away documents to handle the over receipts. And this means that over receipts means that you can receive more than you have ordered. So you can create an over receipt code with the tolerance and set it, for example, as default or not. And in the item or the vendor card, you have a new parameter called over receipt code, where you can specify the over receipt. And when you create an inventory, put away, the over receipt code is proposed here. And directly also in the inventory put away, now you can receive more than the item that you have ordered. For example, in this case, I create an order with 10 and I'm picking 11. If the order receipt is according to the rules specifying the over receipt, you have a new field called over receipt quantity of 1, and if you post them, it's accepted, and the quantity of 1 is over received, and the order is updated, and something like that. Another new feature is related to printing and barcoding. Now, reports have some pages in Business Center have a print label action. So item card, item reference, lot no information, and serial no information, and list has a new action called print label. For example, here I showed what happens in the item list. You select an item, and you go. You can click on print label, and print label prints a label with standard fields like, for example, for items, the item number, description, and this the GTIN fields that you have in the item card. That is printed as a barcode and a QR code. You can obviously customize, but it's what happens in the standard. And related to this is available in all the pages that I show in the slides, and this affects also the mobile app. In the mobile app, there are changes related to barcodes, because if a field in the table displaying in the item, for example, the GTIN field in the item card. The GTIN field in the item card has a property in the table definition called extended data type. And extended data type is set to barcode. And if you set extended data type to barcode and you use the mobile app appears with a barcode symbol here that is useful to scan barcodes. So if you use the mobile app, you can scan the barcode directly clicking on it, and this is automatically rendered as a barcode. In the near future, at the moment is in preview only for on-prem. IL developers are also able to trigger the barcode scanning via IL code, so IL-based action. This means that you can have pages that automatically, when open, triggers the barcode scanning without clicking on the button. Other improvement related to application is related to payments. Different countries have some regulatory requirements that requires that you periodically create some reports about payments. You need to create a report saying that for this type of payments, you have this amount, or for this type of customer, you have this amount of payments, overdue payments, and something like that. Business Central now offers a new app installed by default that handles that reporting. So these apps adds these features, payment periods and payment practices that you have in business. You can have in Business Central. You can define payment periods. For example, those 0 to 30 days, 31 to 60, and so on, in the payment periods. And you can define a payment practice card where you can specify a type of aggregation by period, by vendor, and so on of this with this type of aggregation. For example, line 1 from 0 to 30, so to 30, line 2 from 31 to 60, and so on. And this gives a statistical automatically calculated by your documents according to the payment type that you have in your system. And you can also specify in the vendor card, you have a company size code field where you can specify the type of size company code that you have, large, medium, small, and so on. And you can, in the payment practice card, create an aggregation by company size. And you can see the details of payment accordingly, in this case, not for the payment type, but for the company size. So large customers have a medium payment period of 1 day, have a period of time of X days, and something like that. This is a reporting that many countries requires to produce. And now you can do that automatically by setting up that features. This is a small improvement in the application that I previously explained. Errors now will start showing this interface. So where directly, when you have an error, you can click this icon, and clicking this icon copies the error details, stack trace, and so on. And you can share this way with the support or with your developers in order to know what happens and what causes the error. So without very useful, I think, for troubleshooting or something like that. So expect that starting from now, lots of errors will change the appearance to this new system-based feature. Now we move to reporting and data analysis. There are also new features in that part. The first is that related to format regions. Now you have a possibility to select the format region of reports in the reports limited setting page, where you can specify how these numbers and format regions for these reports can be must be handled. And this format region is also handled in the request page of the report, where you can specify the language and the format region, and also specify in the vendor card or customer card. With all these settings, when you print a report, the report is printed and displayed according to the language and format region in this order. So the first is the request page, what you select in the request page, then what you select in the document, what was defined in the document itself. If nothing, what is defined in the IL object. Is nothing, what is defined in the My Settings page. So you have different possibilities of handle the format, language, format region and language of every report in Business Central now. And in code, you can use curreport.format region and curreport.language to get or set the regional settings of this particular report. In reporting, you know that, I think that now you know that important data analysis features started introduced in Business Central 22. Business Central 23 improve a lot the performances of this data analysis, and also increases the limits of records that you can show in a pivot inside the browser. Now you have also a feature to copy a link to an analysis. And the copy link to an analysis permits you to directly share that analysis to a colleague. Imagine that you have created this analysis here for you, and you want directly to share that to your financial colleague or something like that. You can copy a link to this analysis and share the link via email, for example, to your colleague. Your colleague receives that link, click on that link, and automatically this analysis opens without recreation or something like that. Reports now supports also a new properties called Excel layout multiple datasheets. This is useful for reports that are handled with Excel layouts. I think that this will be clear, more easy to explain with this example. So in this example, I have a report here where I'm printing two data items, customer and then vendor. And then it's data, the data that I want. When I execute this report, and I select to export this report in Excel, so Excel data only, in Business Central 22, I have only the data sheet with all the reports. First are the first data item, in this case, the customer, and then the second data item, in this case, the vendor. If I have Excel layout multiple datasheet properties set to true, now I can directly have a report exported with two data items. The first is the customer and the other in the vendor. So supporting multiple data items separations when I export the data into Excel. And sometimes this is useful for data analysis, for example. We move to Power Platform now. So what's new for Power Platform? There are some improvements. Some are small, some are not small. The first improvement that I want to show is that now Business Central has a new action. The connector for Business Central has a new action called List Companies. List Companies is a new action that permits you to list all the companies that you have in an environment. And then you can loop through this company. And this is quite useful if you want to looping through company. Previously, you can do that. Now you have this new action. Please remember that now the new action to use are the V3. V2 actions are still present in the BC connector, but V2 actions are deprecated and will disappear in the near future. Disappear means that you cannot use the V2 actions in new workflows. But if you have at the moment V2 workflows that are using V2 actions, you can still run that. But if you modify the workflow or something like that, these workflows need to be changed on using the V2, the V3 actions. So remember that. Environment, company, and so on can also be used as parameters to other actions. So for example, if I list the companies, and then I can loop through the companies and retrieve the records by using the company as a parameter, and so on. Another powerful feature added to the Power Automate connector is the support of business events. Business events are introduced in Business Central 22 and can be created in a language using the external business events keyword. And when you declare a business event, this is an event that is exposed outside. And the business event can be used from from Dataverse, for example, but now also from the Business Central connector. So when you use you need to create a flow in Power Automate or in Azure Logic Apps, you can select when a business event occurs action trigger, and you can specify your environment, and you can select the business events. Here you will have listed all the business events that Microsoft defines, but also your custom business events. So you can, for example, create a workflow that reacts when, for example, a purchase invoice is posted, or a purchase or a quote is created for an opportunity, or something like that. Every business event that you define in IL code, and this helps opens a lot of new opportunities of integrations, because as you can imagine, you can integrate easily every product reacting to an event that occurs in Business Central code. Another improvement is related to the Business Central connector with Dataverse. You know that now that from quite a long time now, you have the possibility to use virtual tables in Dataverse. Virtual table permits you to expose Business Central data as tables, native tables in Dataverse without data sync. So data reside in Business Central, but you can perform directly from every application that uses Dataverse CRUD operations on that table. Now in Business Central 23, when you open the Dataverse connection setup, you can also have this new option, review and enable virtual tables, that permits you to specify directly from here the tables that you want to expose to Business Central. Tables, remember, that are not physical tables, but are APIs. So you can specify what you want to expose to Dataverse, and then you can directly expose that as virtual tables to Dataverse. And another hidden changes that I want to mention here is that previously there was a limit of 100 rows in the way the Power Automate flows and Dataverse were triggered when you have multiple operations. So if you have bulk operations in a short period of time, this limit sometimes causes Power Automate stop reacting. Now this limit is increased to 1,000. So and this permits you to have a large limit and more supporting more advanced bulk scenarios. And another quite requested feature that we can announce is that also the support for Power Pages is in progress. First public version will be released in November. These are the plans. This means that from Power Pages is the possibility to create portals with the low code. From Power Pages, we'll be able to use directly Business Central entities as native entities of Power Pages. And from Power Pages, external users will be able to have a portal where we can users authenticated via Power Pages, and they can access Business Central tables without using a Business Central license, so without being Business Central users. And this helps on using these new tools for creating, for example, portals for external users or something like that. Public preview will be available probably in first half of November. These are the plans. More on that, I think, will be announced in the next weeks. Last part is related to the news about development part. Also, this development has new features available. The first is related to the default folder for IL project. Now, when you create an IL project from Visual Studio Code, IL Go, the default folder location is the documents folder in Windows. And this is sometimes quite noisy because you need to copy a new folder and select. Now there's a new setting that you can specify, and new setting is IL Go suggested folder. And here you can specify your default folder. This can be set up per user or per workspace. And when you set that option and you create a new IL Go option or command, this project folder will be created into the folder you specify here and not the standard documents folder. The same applies for building. When you build, the output now is stored in the project folder. So the app file is created into the project folder. But sometimes, especially if you work with multiple apps or something like that, it's quite useful to have the output into a shared folder, not into your project folder. And now you can specify that by applying a new setting. This new setting is called IL compilation option. And you can, when you set these settings, you can specify the out folder properties. And in this folder, in this property, you can specify which is the output folder to use when you build an app. So this will be the folder that where the output of the building will be placed. And this is quite useful because you can share the output, for example, in shared network or something like that. Another nice improvement is visibility of keys. From Business Central version 23, so the new IL language option, when you do, for example, set current key or something like that, when you work with the keys are listed here. So you don't need to go into the table definition to discover what are the keys, but keys now are listed directly, and you can see what are the keys defined in the table and select the key that you want to use. Another IDE improvement is related to find reference. Find reference previously was a search of every reference you have for this keyword, and sometimes was not consistent to the where you want to search. So, for example, if I want to search for, I have a customer insert like in this example, and I select find or reference. I would like to have to be able to have the reference of insert, but for the customer record, not for every insert I have. And now this works in this way. So the find or reference will only give reference related to the context of the operation that you are executing. So reference means that shows all the, for example, in this case, all the customer insert operations, but also triggers and level subscribers that work on insert of the customer or table extension that works on insert of the customer and something like that. So you have a much more consistent reference according to the context where you are searching. Another IDE improvements is related to method overloads. In IL language, different from CIL, you can create method overloads. Method overloads means that you can create a method with the same name and different parameters. And when you write code, now, until now, if you have overloads, you need to switch between different versions. Not easy to find the correct overload. Now, directly clicking from exactly like in Visual Studio, when you have an overload of methods, you can scroll to the right overload, select it, and fill the parameters accordingly. So the IntelliSense is smarter to handle that. Another new feature, I think quite interesting, is related to the debug console. Now, in Business Central 23, when you debug, start the debugging session, the debug console supports IntelliSense. So if I want to see the values of variables, something like that, and maybe these variables are not exactly in the context where I'm debugging, I can go into the debug console and I can type the variable that I want, for example, GL setup dot something, and this now supports IntelliSense. So I write GL, and this prompts me all the variables that contains the word GL. And if I select one, I tap on dot, it show me the fields. So previously you need to write manually. Now it supports IntelliSense, so it's more easy to debug when you want to debug new methods or something like that. Another small feature, but probably useful if you use other languages, is the support for inlay-ins. Inlay-ins is a feature of that Visual Studio Code adds, as in order to give the context of some variables and render additional information about the source of where a variable is used or something like that. And Visual Studio Code supports inlay-ins from a lot of time, but not in a IL language. Now, if you go into the IL settings, you can specify the new properties, IL inlay-ins, function return types enable true or parameter names enable true. And this means that if these both two are true, if you can see from here, these parameters and return types becomes with a square of gray square, where you can have much information about that parameters or variables. Remember that inlay-ins can not only be controlled by this, but must first be enabled in Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code, you need first to go in Visual Studio Code settings, general settings, and enable inlay-ins. You can also specify the colors and where you want to select parameters and something like that. And when this is enabled, you enable in IL language. So this doesn't work if you don't enable the inlay-ins generally in Visual Studio Code. Another developer feature, new feature, is related to sampling. You know that related to performance profiling, the IL language has two main performance profilers. One is the IL profiler that permits you to Visual Studio Code to measure performance of your code. And the other is the in-client profiler, where you, from the client, you can start a recording, simulate an action. The recording register all the stack trace of the action and gives you information about the performances, how much your code runs, and something like that. And the in-client performance profiler and the IL profiler uses a feature called sampling in order to determine every time the system monitors what is running. Previously, you cannot control sampling. Now you can control that. And in the for the IL profiler, so Visual Studio Code, you have a new parameter in launch JSON called profile sampling interval, where you can specify a sampling interval. Also, each time, in what time Business Center need to retrieve the value of a running code. And you can specify one of these three parameters. Default is 100, but you can specify a more strict or more enlarged sampling parameter in order to have more accurate parameters or more and more large parameters. And the same can be also configured in the client. In the client performance profile, you can go on settings and select one of these sampling parameters. This permits you to have more accurate data type and more accurate, measure of running code. Another new feature added to IL language is the introduction of the secret text data type from Business Center 23. Secret text is a new data type that can be used in IL to protect secrets. Secret text is something like a text variable that can be used as a variable, can be used as a parameter and as a return type. And this is not available in debugging. So if you debug a secret text, you cannot see the values on it. Secret text can be used in actions like, for example, the HTTP client. In this example, for example, here I'm calling an external application, and the token, for example, and my body of the request are secret text, or for example, also the URL, and I'm using this as a secret text. If I debug this procedure, I can debug, but I cannot see, for example, the value of the token, the value of the URL, or something like that. Secret text can also be used as a variable. So you can do, for example, create a text and assign this text to a secret text, but you cannot directly write the text and assign this text to a secret variable, to a secret text variable. This is not permitted. And you can also have in code, you can also have two methods like isEmpty that returns if the secret text contains content or not, or unwrap. Unwrap is a method that decodes the content of a secret text in code, obviously. Secret text is born and introduced for security reasons, not only entire support in every functionality of the AI language, but some of them start using that. And you can use that in your code if you have secret code or something like that. Another quite requested feature is the possibility to add field groups to existing tables. Until now, you can add a field group, or for example, like a drop down only in new tables. But it's not possible until version 22 to add a field group to an existing table. Now you can do that, and you can do that in the following way. So you can create a table extension of an existing table and create in the field groups variable. You can, for example, modify an existing and adding your new field. What happens here is that if the group exists, these new fields are added as enqueued in the existing field of the drop-down group. If not, it doesn't exist, the drop-down will be created. If multiple table extension adds a new field to a field group, the final result will be the merged result in order where the extensions are loaded. So first apps, then pertinent extension, and so on. So this is just the rule on how these field groups are created. So now you can customize and add field groups also to existing tables. Another interesting feature added in Business Central 23 is the debugger from client, and this is quite useful for quick debugging of problems. One of the problems in the past is that you can debug, but for example, if you are in the customer side and you want to debug a problem, you need to create a project from scratch in Visual Studio Code, attach the debugger to a session. It's not easy to set up and quick to set up that. Now you add two new features. One is available in the help support page, and one is available in the page inspector. And these new features permits you to attach the debugger to a session, to this session, or explore page in Visual Studio Code. What happens when you launch these features? This automatically creates a Visual Studio Code project filled with that, attached with that session, and automatically configured with all the extension dependency that you have in that environment. And you can directly start a session of debugging, snapshot debugging or regular debugging from here without doing nothing. So simply click on it, Visual Studio Code opens with a project with symbols downloaded and something like that, and you can start debugging. Obviously, the source code that you can debug is handled by resource exposure policy that you have in the app, so you can see or not. Another feature added is the analysis mode enable yes or no. So now you have new properties to get for pages to control the possibility to have analysis mode turned on and off. And this is controlled also by a system permissions. So you can specify if this page supports analysis mode yes or no. And this cannot be used in page extension. So page extension cannot alter the analysis mode enable yes or no. Another interesting feature is the rich text editor. I think that if you have ever used the email features in Business Central, you know that now the client has a nice rich text control where you can write text in HTML, format it, supports all the features like Word. And this text is saved in HTML format in a blob field. Now you can use this control as your own. So in every page you want. To do that, you need to use the extended data type property. And the extended data type property has now a new variable value called rich content that you can use. If the variable is rich content, you need to only remember to, in order to be able to use and don't tell you an error, that this can only be used in page fields, and the rich text editor will be displayed into the page field only if it's the only control in the group. So you cannot have a rich text in a group where you have other fields. When you have the rich controls, we create a blob field in the underlying table, and you need to use that by with a bit of code. You can also check the standard, but simply in the on validation, you create a blob field in the table. In the page where I want to display my rich text, I create a blob variable. In this variable, I set the extended data type rich content, and in the validate of the rich text control, I use a procedure that reads the content and save that into my blob field. Rich text var is a big text variable that I then save in the blob field. To load the existing values in the open page, I have a procedure that reads the blob and displays into the variable. So I have opening the page, I have the text displaying into the rich text, and when I change the text is saved into the blob automatically. So you can handle that by yourself. This control can become useful everywhere now. And another interesting feature, probably announced as one of the biggest features, but I think that at the moment it's not fully completed, is the usage of namespaces. And namespaces, Danielle, is the possibility to categorize your code into what is called a namespace. A namespace permits you to, is a keyword that declare a scope of a page. This is use of a code. This is a concept extremely useful in other languages like C#. And namespace is actually used in every part of the base application. So if you check the base application, you will see that Microsoft is using namespace inside your code. Namespace is not mandatory. So just to very quickly show the usage of a namespace, if I have a code here, here I have a stupid extension with a table and with a code unit. This is how I work now. So I have a table and I have a code unit with some function referencing my table. In the code now, you can do something like that. So you can declare that this table belongs to a namespace called, for example, sd.base. So normally namespace you should call like your company, your module, your something. If I use namespace, I'm declaring that this table belongs to that namespace. And when I write a code unit, for example, I can declare that this code unit belongs to the namespace called sd.module. I don't know, something like that. If I do that, this gives an error because it says that table is missing. And you have a quick fix here where you can fully qualify the table or you can add a using. So if I add a using, for example, I'm using this namespace, I'm referencing this namespace, and now this table belongs to the namespace called sd.base. And the same happens for local variables. So for standard variables. So for example, if I declare a variable called customer, that is a variable type record, and the type is customer, you can see that automatically what happens. The system adds for me using Microsoft.sales.customer, because this is the namespace where customer belongs. If you check the definition of the customer table, you can see that Microsoft added a lot of namespace into the customer table, and this customer table belongs to this namespace. And in the code that Microsoft has in the customer table, there are references to all these type of namespaces by Microsoft. So namespaces are useful for categorizing your code, dividing your code. At the moment, are not supported, they don't permit you to remove the need to use object IDs, and they don't permit you to remove affixes to objects. Please remember that you should not namespace your code until all your dependencies are namespaced, or otherwise you will have problems. So you start using namespaces only when all your extensions are namespaced, or your dependent extensions are namespaced. Otherwise, you will have problems on compilations. And remember also that renaming a namespace is a breaking change. So you can, if you declare that an object belongs to a particular namespace, you cannot change that between different versions of your extensions. Last feature, you can now, this feature is also long time requested, you can now add a query object to a user interface. So you can create a query object, and to in this query objects, you can use a run object, create an action, and run object pointed to a query. And query now can also have a usage category to be placed into the user interface, like here. Then you can place query into the user interface, create, and the queries can be executed and launched directly from actions. And this is useful if you have, for example, particular tables or something like that you want to open, or particular data analysis that you want to open and can be performed by using queries. Last feature before questions. Business Center 23 also introduces a tool called ILDoc, a nice tool for creating documentations of your code. Documentation that can also be exposed as a web page or directly published on GitHub pages, for example. How ILDocs works quickly. First, you need to retrieve the tool, and the tool is stored in the IL code, IL language extension folder. Normally is your user folder slash VS Code and so on, slash name of your IL language extension. And in the Win32 folder, you have ILDoc.exe. To use that, first you need to launch ILDoc init command by passing a folder where you want to store the documentation and a folder where you have your app with these parameters. This runs and creates in the doc folder a set of YAML file. When you have that, you execute ILDoc build, passing the docs folder and the apps folder and the name of your app with this minus minus O minus C minus S. And this runs and generates some files. Then you can execute docfx build, the docfx JSON file that is generated in the doc folder by the build. This creates some YAML file and HTML files. And last step, you run docfx serve, the underscore site folder that is created under the docs folder by this command. And what happens here is that it creates first a web server running on this, that you can run, and you have a web page showing all the objects that you have in your extension. You can click the objects, you can see the functions, parameters, and so on. And you can also see the description that you have placed, documentation that you have placed in code. But nice thing of that is that you can also place this folder and put this folder in GitHub. And this folder is absolutely compatible with GitHub pages. So if you have an extension that you want to sell, for example, to third-party customers, you can take this folder, publish it on GitHub, and you have a public documentation of your code that you can share with partners or customers or something like that. So nice tool for creating code documentations. For more reference or usage, I have a blog post about that showing step-by-steps how to use this tool. I finished quite a bit late. Sorry for the long time, but features are quite a lot. I try to answer some of them if available.
Thank you. Thank you, Stefano, for for a session.
Yes.
Even though that you mentioned it's long, but hopefully everyone enjoyed that.
Unfortunately, features are a lot. So as I said before, I want to explain all the features in order to have a list. I try to, there are a set of features related to allocations. If some of the features can explain, because some of them about inventory, we can set up it for each warehouse, and new features sound strange, to be honest. I don't understand the question, sorry. If the same person that has written 3 questions here can explain, because are not clear to me. Allocation means that you can split the registration of a GL account to different other accounts. It's quite a common feature in cost accounting, for example. It was in now 2018. In now 2018, there was a feature of that, but only based on percentage, if I remember. Now this percentage was added to Business Central also, but with the more advanced features like possibility to split accordingly, not only on percentage, but or on a single, but on different criteria. So they're more advanced. Adjust inventory manually on the item card. What about item tracking information? Item tracking is supported if you add adjust inventory. So it's supported. What is about non-inventory item or dropshipping functionality? Sorry, it's not so clear what you mean. Non-inventory item are, I don't understand the question. What is about non-inventory item? Non-inventory item are items that does not support item movements, so are not tracking in inventory. So there's no problem on that. I think that all questions that I see in the chat are answered, because some of them are not clear to me. If you want to reformulate the questions, otherwise for me are all what I can answer, it's answered. If there are no more questions, all functionality was before in Nav. Yes, I agree. It was in Nav, that functionality, but it was not present in Business Central. So in Nav, if I remember, it was, but not exactly the same. But I agree that it was present. Business Central, no, and it's added in this release. So nothing to add on that.
Okay, so we can add 1 or 2 minutes for possible questions. For all of you who haven't joined us in the very beginning, just let me remind you that if you want to have the recording, you will receive it within the upcoming days. Well, most probably, I believe this will be next week, Monday, Tuesday. but for sure we will inform you via mail, and the recording will be available for all the attendees. And if you have any requirements regarding the very beginning of the session about the Simpanova tools, don't forget to visit the website of ours, and you can leave the inquiry there as well. And as
Okay.
for now,
If there are no more questions.
no, I see that there are no more questions. So in this case, I really appreciate your time, Stefano, that you uh, spent some time while sharing the knowledge regarding the latest BC version. I hope all the attendees were satisfied with the information that they received today. And hopefully with the majority of the attendees and with you as well, Stefano, we'll meet soon in direction
Yes,
in Lyon. Just a few
ab-
weeks left.
absolutely. Waiting every one of you if you will be in Lyon in 2 weeks. Hoping to see you there and to share ideas together and question and answer together. And hoping to see you everyone in Lyon in 2 weeks.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for all time. Thank you for
Thanks
joining us.
everybody for joining, and see you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.